is English, so the learners need to give the exam also in English as of now. Minimum duration of the program is 2 years, maximum duration is 4 years. Program fee is rupees 14,000 per annum. That brings a total program fee of rupees 28,000 for the entire program. Total credits is 80. An exam would be annual for the first 2 semesters, and then the learners can give the exam semester wise. There are 13 core theory courses which are compulsory worth 48 credits. 5 are core and compulsory lab courses worth 20 credits. The project or dissertation is of 8 credits, and 1 credit is equal to 30 hours of self-study in ODL system. There are 3 elective courses. The learners can choose any one course from 3 elective courses. Each course is of 4 credits. Now coming on to the job prospects. The job prospects can be widespread. It can help in teaching and research, cartography, mapping, urban and regional planning, population and demographic studies, natural resource management, environmental management and sustainability, geospatial analysis, GIS and remote sensing, tourism and recreational industries, administration and marketing, disaster management, transportation and logistic industries. So what are you waiting for? Go to the Samarth portal of IGNOU and take admissions as soon as possible. Alternatively, you can type on Google IGNOU admissions and you will be redirected to the Samarth portal of IGNOU, and go and register there and take admissions as soon as possible. In case of any query, you can write to us at satyaraj@ignou.ac.in. Happy learning!
Hello learners and viewers, welcome to this session. Today's topic is gender roles in forestry. Specifically, we talk about the role played by the women in the forestry, as well as we talk about the, apart from activities performed in the forestry, they also do certain activities like beekeeping and sericulture. Let us discuss about these topics today. This topic is part of the program, certificate program in gender, agriculture and sustainable development. This topic specifically part of the course 2, that is gender dynamics in agriculture, that is MGS 042. I have designed today's topic with the following objectives. First one is, let us discuss about the women's role in forestry. Then we will discuss the role of women in beekeeping. And third, we discuss the role of women in sericulture. These are the 3 objectives in today's session. Before we start discussing about the women's role in forestry, let me give you introductions. As we all know, the women play a significant role in forestry activities and the collection of the forest produce. Specifically, the women who lives in hilly terrain, tribal areas, they depend forest for their own livelihoods and to manage the entire household activities. Like women, as we have seen, they burden to fetch the water and they have to collect the fuel wood and they and fodder for the animals and others. and they go to the forest and they collect fodder and fuel wood for their own sustenance. Today's topic, we discuss what are the roles they play in forestry apart from collecting the forest produce for their livelihood activities. Along with this topic, I would like to tell you, our learners, that there is another topic in course 3, that is MGS 043. The unit 1 is on ecofeminism, the discourse of ecofeminism and deep ecology. I request our learners to go through the unit ecofeminism before you read the gender roles in forestry. You all must be wondering why I am saying and why I am asking you to read first ecofeminism, then you read the gender roles in forestry. In the unit ecofeminism, we define what is ecofeminism, and we have discussed about the theoretical debates on ecofeminism and what are the alternative ideas. And we also discussed how the women, they actively involved in environmental activism, Chipko movement, and beyond that also we have discussed. Once you go through that unit on ecofeminism, then you could able to know that it's women's role in forestry is not about mere economic activities. It's go beyond that. They not only use the forest produce for their livelihoods, they could able to use the forest produce in a very sustainable manner. Like when we talk about the women's roles in forestry, we need to discuss how this entire how they start involving in the activities of forestry. First, the role, we could able to see that the women are the very resourceful when it comes to forestry. As I have mentioned, specifically the women who lives in hilly terrain and tribal areas, they traditionally visit the forest to meet their household requirements like a collection of fuel wood and other activities. In earlier days, in the forest practices, what happened is that it was male dominated, because the forest produce is related to logging operations in a deep forest for certain activities like for housing, boat, shipbuilding, rail sleepers and bridges. They need the forest logs. So the men, they go together in the forest and they camp in the forest for so many days, or in a long period they stay in the forest, and tree felling activities are carried out by the male members. Once they fell the trees, they convert those trees into sleepers, and sometimes even trained elephants was taking us in suitable terrain to overcome the transportation of the logging of the timber. With the changing times and gradual rise in demand for timber for the infrastructure development during the colonial period worldwide and entire continent, specifically South Asia and Southeast Asia, the scenario has changed. What happened is that wherever the tree was felled already in the reserve forest area, the government decided to reforest it with the suitable species. Specifically, they want to replant the species based on the adaptability of the tree species in a particular area. This mass plantation of timber value species has also provided certain economic benefit to the women. These women, they will be part of the like raising of the plant nurseries in the vicinity of the forest, and they actively involved in the plant nurseries. Once the plants were grown in certain size, then the women actively involved in transporting those plants in the deep forest for planting of the forest. In these things, we need to, there is a system of cultivation. First one is that the Tangya system of cultivation as a means for establishing the planted forest of timber value, that is the plants like sal, teak, shisham, or certain plants they have cultivated. These cultivation of these plants also provided women for their opportunities, and they have actively involved in the forest activities, and their role is defined and they actively involved. This Tangya is the Burmese word, originally a local term for the shifting of cultivation or jumming. Subsequently, this shifting of cultivation, that Tangya system of cultivation has been adopted for afforestation. As I have mentioned, the word the Tangya in 1850 is derived from Tang for hill and Ya for cultivation. So Tangya plantations in India were raised first in North Bengal in 1896. In the 1923, Tangya system specifically implemented. The system was adopted in then United Province, now called Uttar Pradesh, and they used this system to raise sal plantations in terai regions. That is the first practice. In this practice, the women actively participated, and in this Tangya plantation was part of the intensive and extensive management of forest, where landless labor families were brought and temporarily settled for 3 to 4 years in the forest land, nearly forming a small village with the purpose of to plant trees. First, they clear the land and open up the areas with the timber species, along with this short rotation of agricultural crop. These women, they became the fundamental labor force in this system of cultivation. There, like not only women, sometimes when the entire family, they became part of this entire process. Like male members, they could able to clear the land, and the women, they work in the nurseries. Then they actively participate in transporting the seedlings, and they involve in planting of the seedlings, and sometimes they involve in watering of the plants, and these are the certain activities are carried out by the male members and certain activities are carried out by the women members. Sometimes the entire responsibility of planting of trees in the reserve forest areas is taken care by the entire family. Apart from that, apart from this, there is another system where women, they collect various forest produce, and they use those forest produce for economic activities. Here I would like to mention one significant case study carried out by the like Yabukre, Asare and Amaba specifically in the Ghana. They have come to the conclusion that women provided more labor, mostly in less labor intensive activities as far as nurseries are concerned. With the increasing awareness on the economic potential of the forest produce, as well as there is a government also, they want to address the poverty among low economic group families. Forest activities in the forest considered to be the one of the significant activities, and through these activities the government could able to address the poverty, and they could able to improve the lives and livelihoods of certain families. Apart from this, another significant activities the women, they carried out as far as forestry is concerned, that is the forestry is concerned, that is the role of women in collecting the tendu leaves. All of you must be heard the name tendu leaves. The women, they used to pluck the dried tendu leaves. These activities of collecting the tendu leaves usually carried out in summer months, and they used to collect tendu leaves, and they used to pack 50 to 60 dried tendu leaves in one bundle, and these tendu leaves are used for various purposes. That is the another thing. These collection of tendu leaf activities, specifically it is carried out in central part of the India, specifically in Madhya Pradesh, certain districts in Uttar Pradesh, Orissa, and like Maharashtra, and part of the Maharashtra and part of the Uttar Pradesh and part of the Orissa. These activities are carried out by the women, specifically women. They considered in certain states, the women considered in collecting the tendu leaves is one of the significant economic activities. With the advent of the social forestry in 1976, there is a implementation of social forestry, and also there is a implementation of joint forest management program by the government of India, and they have also brought out the national forest policy in 1988 by recognizing the role of women in forestry. The government specifically formed a committee as part of the joint forest management program. In that joint forest management program, the committee is formed at the village level. In that committee, that is the mandatory to include women as the members of that committee. The 30% of the women should be part of this committee. In that 30% of the women, they must actively participate in taking the decisions. There is a study conducted in Rajasthan as well as in Maharashtra with regard to joint forest management program. This study clearly point out that the women who are part of the joint forest management program in the state of Maharashtra, they could actively participate in decision making process. But as far as Rajasthan is concerned, women, they participate in the joint forest management committees, but they may or may not involved in taking decisions. This study clearly shows that wherever there is an awareness about gender roles, and there the women could actively participate and they involve in taking a decisions. Here you must be wondering why the women should be participate in taking a decision as far as joint forest management is concerned. Because the forest, as far as forest is concerned, the women, they depend on forest not only for their livelihoods, the livelihood of the entire family. They could able to use the forest produce in a very sustainable manner. That's the main reason that the women should be part of the joint forest management committee, and they should be active in taking the decisions. Like apart from that, here I would like to mention one significant milestone as far as women's role in forestry. There are famous movements as far as forestry is concerned. Women actively participate in conservation of forest produce. One is, all of you must be heard about that is the Chipko movement led by the Gaura Devi in Raini village in Chamoli district in New Uttarakhand. Earlier it was Uttar Pradesh, now it's in Uttarakhand. They actively participated in the conservation of forest movement against the commercial felling by the government contractor in 1974. Another significant movement as far as conservation of forest produce is concerned is the Apiko movement. This Apiko movement is led by the Pandurang Hegde in Salkani, Uttar Kannad in Karnataka state in 1983 to save the tropical forest in Western Ghats. Another third significant movement here I would like to mention is that Narmada Bacho Andolan in Madhya Pradesh, movement led by the Mehta Patkar in 1985. The movement aim was against the construction of large dam across the river Narmada. These are some of the movements I have mentioned as far as forest conservation is concerned. With the changing nature of the economic activities, women's role in forestry has also changed. The government also, they have taken significant policy decisions as far as forestry is concerned. Here I would specifically with regard to forest governance, in 1980, the government selected 3 women Indian Forest Service officers, which is one of the All India service. Then this service was reconstructed 1966 after the discontinuation of the Imperial Forest Service in 1932. The selection of the lady officers in 1980 shows that the government itself, they could able to change the policies, and they have recognized the women's role like a male members. The women could also able to participate actively in the forest governance, and they could able to able to conserve and preserve the forest produce. Like for example, the one data shows that till 2010, nearly there were 133 women IFS officers. They got selected into Indian Forest Service. Not only the officers at the decision making level, the government of India, they have encouraged the state governments to induct the more women in the forest service at every levels, whether it's for example, range officer, frontline staff like a forest guard, or at every level, the state governments were encouraged to appoint more women officers as far as forestry is concerned. These are the certain roles I have mentioned as far as women's role in forest. Apart from that, as part of the forest, as part of the women's economic activities, the women also, they have actively participated in beekeeping. Beekeeping is a form of one form of agricultural activities to harvest honey and wax from the wild and domesticated beehives. Beekeeping involves, these are the part of the economic activities carried out, predominantly carried out by the women members. Beekeeping involves domesticating beehives for selling processed natural honey and bee wax as an additional agricultural income for the rural livelihood. In this beekeeping also, the women, they have actively participated. Earlier, the beekeeping considered as a male dominated activities, because usually before beekeeping, before making beekeeping as an significant economic activities, and before making beekeeping can be carried out in a large scale manner for the economic activities, specifically male members, usually they used to climb trees and they try to collect the honey and wax. In the earlier period, it was considered as beekeeping is considered as a male dominant activities. It's not possible for the women members to actively work on beekeeping activities that they have. But this has changed, and we have to see that the scientific procedure for beekeeping is termed as apiculture. There are certain popular species where cultured, domesticated, cultured, and from that the honey is taken for commercial activities like Apis cerina indica, Apis florea, Apis dorsata, Trigona. These are the certain species is like commercially grown and cultivated, and honey is taken from these bees. Like as I have mentioned, in the initial stage, beekeeping is considered as an male dominated group occupation, but due to the involvement of women, now more number of women, they are also actively participating in the beekeeping, and due to this commercial cultivation of bees and collection of honey from these bees, it became the one of the significant economic activities for the women. Apart from beekeeping, there is another significant activities related to forestry for the women is the sericulture. Sericulture is a sericum means silk, culture means cultivating. Sericulture is the cultivation of silk farming, which involves breeding, rearing, treating of silkworm to produce raw silk. So sericulture is the commercial agro industry for the production of silk through silkworm farming. So these are the, as part of the forestry, beekeeping and sericulture also carried out by the women members. If you look at today's discussion, we could able to conclude that forestry, the role of women in forestry is very elaborately we have discussed. So women, they actively participated not only for the commercial economic activities, they have also collect the forest produce for specifically minor forest produce for their own economic activities. Dear learners, this when you go through this unit, specific unit 16, you could able to come to know that how the women, they actively involved in forestry. As I have mentioned, this topic is part of the certificate program, Certificate in Gender, Agriculture and Sustainable Development. In this program, we have elaborately discussed about the women's role in agriculture. If anyone is interested how the women actively participating in agricultural activities in a very sustainable manner, if you are interested in women's role in agriculture, you could able to take up this program and you can be part of the School of Gender and Development Studies. Thank you so much for listening this session. Thank you.